Everybody, greetings and welcome. I want to go over the recent 7.1 Reason update a little bit today. Bunch of things to love about it. First thing that comes to mind is it's a free upgrade, and we love that. All you have to do is own a Reason 7 and you can upgrade to 7.1 for free. There's a number of things that were bug fixes, under the hood kind of stuff. It's not the most impressive update for like, hey, there's 500 new keyboards and drum machines, but a working DAW is a good DAW, so we love it when they fix the bugs. A lot of things for developers in this as well, as they get more robust with rack extensions, and who doesn't love that? And speaking of that, one of the freebies you get when you upgrade for free to 7.1 is a rack extension called Synchronous, or Synchronous. I'm sure you could probably figure out 4 or 5 ways to say it, but all you have to do is upgrade to 7.1. Then you can go to the store, the Reason store, go to Rack Extensions, find it, and it is yours for free. And I believe there's a deadline on that, though. I think it's like June 1st. So you have a little bit of time. Once you have it, they're not going to charge you for it later. That's not fair. There was another freebie, Audiomatic, that you could get in as of Reason 7. When you upgraded to 7, that was free. But it also just kind of talks about where Reason is going with rack extensions. It is the third-party plugin for the rest of the world. They're just called rack extensions in Reason. And remember, up until Reason 6.5, what you had inside of Reason was what you got. So now they have kind of opened their doors to the world. And wow, there's so many awesome synths and effects devices and pretty much anything you could think about. McDSP's on board. Korg has developed. The McDSP plugins recently were just an awesome addition. So as of Reason 6.5, you can have that. Remember, you can try any rack extension for 30 days for free, fully functional. I wish the rest of the industry would adopt that. Having something for a month that works, what better way could you think of to test something? I mean, I love that. And if you like it, you're going to buy it. So it helps their business model. So props to propeller heads, if I can say that. A couple of the things Reason now supports 32-bit floating format, which means you could go from Pro Tools 32-bit float right into Reason without converting. I love that. Spectrum EQ button on the master section is kind of a big deal because it means, and we'll look at that, that's this button right here, that means that we can actually put the Spectrum EQ or the Spectrum Analyzer on the master section, which means your entire mix, as opposed to just a device, like I have a subtractor right there. So that is a huge deal in my mind. Kind of hoping that that was going to be there. So number of things, number of bug fixes, a couple new functions within Reason. But what I want to look at in Reason today is Synchronous. So I have made a subtractor, got a bass patch that is in there, nothing too fancy. I have opened up the mix channel device. Let me maybe close that back up again so you can see how this works. So this is the normal look of any sound making device in Reason. It has, and we'll flip this real quickly, that was tab key. We'll see that the subtractor itself, a mono device, is hooked up into the input of the mix channel device. The mix channel device then, by default, invisibly cables to the mixer, as we see a bass track down here that it automatically created, and it routes that audio. So the mix channel, when it came out, it was a little confusing for people. Like, why do we have to have this? Why can't we just cable to the mixer? Well, the mix channel device not only lets us do some side chaining and parallel processing tricks in the mixer, perhaps in another video, but it has this incredible ability of letting us insert effects into an effects chain, right? So instead of send and return, which we see a wonderful echo over here in a couple great RV7000s. I love those devices. Those would be send and return devices. We see that they are send and return onto the main mixer. We would go, or to the master section, we'd go to the main mixer and we see I can use send and returns here. But this is about inserting, meaning between the subtractor and the outputs that go to the mixer, I can load up as many effects as I want, and I can save the channel strip. So this awesome ability to hit save on the quaint humble little floppy disk icon that is save in Reason. I can do a massive effects chain, and I can put it on any sound making device by simply hitting load patch, which of course would be the folder icon next to it. So I love this. I love everything about this, because not only does it let me do that, but they brought in some of the combinator type controls, meaning that I have rotaries and buttons that are connected to CV on the back, which means I can modulate whichever effects devices happen to be in this effects chain. And then of course I have a master bypass. So awesome, all told, everything about it, it's great. So let's do it. I'm not going to load a preset, of course, because we're going to make one here. So I can load a preset through the browse and get a preset here. I'm going to come into the load slot here, click it red, right click, go find my creative effects, and here it is. So that puts it in line as an insert. I could continue to add to it by clicking here. It will auto cable every insert that you put there, so it would continue to add cables, make the ins and outs correct. Gotta love that. It's like having a built-in intern in the box, and we love our interns around here because they do things like cable, but they sit on the sidelines when we're using Reason because it's automatically cabled. So a humble amount of CV on the back of this, but the CV is pretty cool for what it does do. So what is this device? Let's go ahead first, and I'm going to reset. Remember, in Reason, right-clicking in any area that is not an actual parameter will bring up a contextual menu, and one of those options on the menu will be to reset the device. It just means take it back to default, whatever default may mean. Now, in a sound making device, default means in one of the synths, it's going to go to like a sawtooth waveform, or it's going to go to a sine wave in Maelstrom. But on a device like Synchronous, it means that it literally wipes it. There's nothing in here. So that's going to be our blank canvas to start with. So what is this beastly new rack extension? It is a multiple effects processor. That's one part of it. And we see distortion, we see the filter, delay, reverb, right? We're like, okay, well, cool. It's 4-in-1 to begin with. Distortion, we have a couple different types, and we're going to hear all this in just a second. But it's not just one distortion, obviously. It's multiple types. We have character. We have ways we can do things like pre and post, send and return. Filters, usual suspects, low pass, band pass, high pass, combo. A wonderful lag. Lag in low pass filter would basically round off the rough edges that might cause a little bit of clicking or popping when filtering. So maybe it's like a low pass filter on a low pass filter, perhaps. Delays, ping pong, sunk delays, rolls, different panning, center return, feedbacks. The reverb, not a ton of controls like maybe we would have an RV7000, but size, amount, the decay time, damping for the high frequencies, send and return. So 4 effects, but you know, that's not what makes it special per se. What we're really looking at is the fact that this can do time-based or pattern-based effects. It is a loop effect player. So 2 bars by default. If we play it at 1x or normal speed, if we go to double speed, that's going to cut it in half. But if we take it to half speed, it becomes 4-bar looping. So think this is a loop multiple effects processor, and we have a number of different wave shapes that we can use for modulation. So you could also say that it's somewhat of an LFO on steroids, but I mean that in a good way. The good steroids that people use that are legitimate. So let's do this a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my square wave, and this is how it works. We're going to pick for the waveform types, we're going to pick a time frame, and that is going to let us draw in that wave shape with that time or the musical value for the duration of the loop, right? So you can see that I can go in here and I can use that wave shape, and I can kind of give it the amount of amplitude or the percentage of this that it's going to affect it, right? Pretty cool stuff, but it gets way better because I can change wave shapes anywhere in here as well as the value. Right, so and then we can come out of that and I can get one of the line tools, and you see that the actual duration goes away because that's not how this is based. So this is going to let me basically do almost what looks like a magnet's attached to it. You kind of see that flex on the actual grid, but I can draw my own shapes with this. I have to admit, when I downloaded this, I was up for, well, it was a late night, let's just say that. I love this. There's also a free mode on this that lets us kind of unconstrained, have unconstrained drawing with it. So I'm going to go back to my square, and I'm going to just kind of do one of these, and I'm on an 8th note. I'm going to leave it 8th note most of the way, and then maybe we'll do one of these just so we can kind of hear the progression. So we do some quarters, we got some 8ths, and then finally maybe we get to the 16ths, which I already had in there. And this is how it works, right? So to begin with, I'm holding the notes. We don't hear anything. This is a play-based device. Spacebar, play it, nothing, because we've not turned on any of the parameters yet. So we heard the distortion. So we haven't done any modulation yet. This is an effects device. So simply by turning on the distortion function, it's going to change character of the sound. Right? So we have an amount, we have character. All right, so by itself, it is going to be an effects device, but here's where the fun comes in. This is how we use the modulation. Now, there's 3 separate modulation lanes, 1, 2, and 3. They are very colorful. You're not going to miss them. I'm in number 1. So basically, as I choose through them, you see that it lights up that color to this plus and minus value. So we go back to the lane I'm actually using, turns back to yellow. This is what happens. You can see basically it looks like the circle would be drawn around this. It's telling me the amount, but it's also telling me yellow. Quickly click into number 2, you see that there's nothing here yet. So yellow, and we're going to get now when I turn this back down to neutral, or 12 o'clock, which has no value, no modulation. Neutral, negative value there is not going to do anything because my amount controls all the way down. Now my amount controls all the way down because I want to induce basically positive values from nothing. So you don't have to do it like that. That's just how I'm doing it. I'm on distortion 2. The character has not been engaged yet, so let's give it a little bit of character. Simple. It's amazingly simple. Here's my speed controls. Like I said, real-time, 2x, half-time. I can change the phase, meaning where that is going to start. That will actually then move that before the actual grid. I'm going to take that back because I want that to be on the grid. Very cool that I can offset and I can change the phase to get the modulation to happen off of the grid a little bit, and it's on my control. All right, so let's add a couple of things. Now I'm going to leave this in lane 1. I'm going to go to lane 2, and I'm thinking that feels like filtering to me. So I turn the filter on. Now once again, just by turning the filter on, I have actually affected the sound. I'm going to turn my frequency on a low-pass filter all the way down, which means basically no sound. All right, so if you know what a low-pass filter does, which removes the high frequencies by the cutoff point that you determine, we know there's not going to be any sound. So now I'm going to engage modulation by bringing this up. And we are going to a little bit of frequency. Now we're gonna, and we'll take that back down. Now we're gonna draw in, and I think for this I'm gonna go ahead and use the square wave again, and I'm gonna skip a couple, like we see where we can put this in. I'm gonna use lag. Hear a little bit clicking. Softens the blow, as they say. Right, now they're running at the same time. They're playing together. I'm just kind of showing you the different lanes. There's actually even a dim knob here that I can kind of blend the colors to see everything at once, to not have to switch back here. So now we'll go down to number 3, and maybe we'll do a little verb. I'm going to turn it down so there's no verb until I engage the modulation, give it a little bit of value, turn the size up, and then I'm going to go ahead and find, maybe let's go ahead and use my up sawtooth there and give it a little bit of a ramp up. So you can hear me induce the reverb by this shape. Now remember, one of the cool things is any shape, any time frame, anywhere, including freehand with this, it is just the gift that keeps on giving. So here's some interesting things with that reverb. I'd have to kind of smooth out a little bit there. But then I have my delay as well. Remember, it's all based on finding the actual parameter, the default setting, if you like that. So now this is just delay. And I'm going to stop playback. So there's delay. There's the amount of delay. We can keep it in pitch. We can sync it to one of the 16 musical time subdivisions in Reason. I've got time and I've got feedback. So if I want to go back to the first parameter, so go to yellow, see everything has this knob. It's just going to be one of the 3 different colors, which means one of the 3 different wave shapes with it. So with this, then I'm going to go ahead and have a little bit of time, maybe a little feedback as well. Maybe I'll keep my amount the way that it is. And I'm not getting sound when I play without running this, because remember I turned that low pass down. I'm not going to get sound until the modulation starts, because that's actually opening and closing that low pass filter built into Synchronous with the wave shape. So spacebar says. So tweak it a little bit. We get some really amazing sounds out of this thing. So it is a 4-part multiple effects processor with 3 different modulation lanes with multiple tools that give you time values for the actual waveforms, and the freehand tools that don't really care about the time frame, with a little bit of CV on the back. It is an amazing device. It is a free device, but it's one of those things that when you use it in Reason, starts to feel like a couple of the programs people do use to do electronic production with, which I won't name, but it gives me that kind of feel and that kind of ability. Massive amount of presets that come with this for all sorts of different things. You know, one of the cool things to do, of course, is to put this as an insert into like a Rex player for your drums. Kong, Redrum would love that. You know, anything where you've got pattern-based beats, because it is a loop-based processor. Really, really cool. Now, I also have something that I kind of did before this, where I kind of put it into play. And I've got 2 humble subtractors being run by 1 matrix. And the matrix is feeding a splitter. The splitter then feeds both subtractors. So I have one kind of old school C minor techno TB303 line that's going to feed both subtractors. I love pulverizer. People call me pulverizer because of my pulverizer fetish. So there's a couple of those in there because I just love to destroy sound with that. And then we have the Synchronous that's on the top subtractor. So I'm going to turn down second subtractor and just play this for a second so you can see how you can really use this. So some pretty cool stuff. Tends to keep going on with all that delay, so I'm going to turn that down. But just to kind of show that, I'm actually using the CV coming out of the second curve to modulate the squash value in the back. The CV, remember in Reason, is another like almost pre-MIDI control voltage gate back from the 70s, but it's like a MIDI controller where we can modulate destinations from sources with speeds and wave shapes. It's awesome in Reason. So I'm modulating the filter frequency on one of the subtractors with an invert curve from number 1, and then the actual squash level. I'm also taking the amplitude input follower and sending it to the dirt control, which is distortion in the other pulverizer. But this is 2 subtractors and a matrix with 1 synchronous that I think really kind of demonstrates a little bit of the power of this. It's just a stunningly powerful plug-in that kind of takes Reason to a different level depending on the kind of music that you do. So that's a hand-drawn curve, not really a preset by any means, and I'm using all 4 of those effects parameters, the reverb, delay, and filter for this. So anyway, I hope you like that. Remember, it's free. Keep saying it's free. Reason 7.1 is free. Bug fixes, other cool things in it. Go to Propellerhead's website, find it, get it. If you don't have Reason 7 yet and you have 6.5, it's definitely worth the upgrade. So get it, have fun, make some great music, and I will see you back on the other side.
Very much like to thank Pyramind for hosting me here once again. I think this institution is really cool, and until I came here for the first time, I had never seen anything like it in my whole life.
What I think really separates us from other people who teach is that we are outrageously passionate about what we do, and especially in electronic music.
Since coming to Pyramind, I've discovered electronic music, and San Francisco being a mecca for underground electronic music opened up so many doors for me and kind of blew my mind.
We cover everything from absinthe to contact. When people get to the mind-melting level, we get into modular synthesis.
Everything about native instruments, everything about Logic synths down to the finest detail. We learned it all.
The fundamentals of understanding how things work, that's just essential. But then beyond that, there's so much more, and that's where it gets into just a lot of the artistic side of like the creative approach of why you do something, not just how.
There's a lot of schools that just, they focus on the technicality of recording music, but I wanted something that would foster creativity and really help me develop as an artist as well.
Each of our genre-specific programs comes in 4 levels. There's a basic, an advanced, a professional, and then a master's level. And the master's level is, of course, everything we do. It's the largest and most powerful programs that we can create for you.